Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ask the CEO with Avraham Gatil. Today, I'd like to introduce a very special guest. She is the Vice President at GfK Consumer Life, where she consults with many Fortune 500 clients looking at disruptive shifts and forces to make sense of the future, and she is really obsessed with the future. She studies U.S. and global consumers, as well as disruptions and innovation around the world, to guide her clients on how to connect with today's and tomorrow's consumers, to pinpoint white space opportunities and high growth areas, and tailor marketing strategies to future-proof their business. Her category expertise includes technology, retail, health, media and entertainment, PR and marketing, consumer packaged goods, personal care, beauty and fashion, government, and nonprofit. She's a frequent speaker at numerous conferences, including the Marketing to Moms Conference, the Market Research Event, and the Media Insights Conference, to name a few. She's a columnist at MediaPost and Customer Think, and an author of many other industry blogs and articles. It is my pleasure to introduce the one and only Jola Burnett. Welcome, Jola.
Thank you so much, Avraham, and hello, everybody. I'm so happy and excited to be here today.
And I'm so happy and excited to be talking to you. You know, Jola, we have business owners around the world working on manufacturing AI products and services, and everybody is struggling to get ahead in this very competitive marketplace. And wouldn't it be great if people had a crystal ball to know what the future is going to bring, what's going to be that next product that's going to make it big? And what I love about talking to you, besides you being so smart and knowledgeable, is that you have that crystal ball. So besides talking about the lottery numbers, the future lottery numbers after the show, what I'd like to know, at the recent Marketing to Moms conference, you actually moderated a panel called What Millennial Moms Want and How Brand Marketers Can Help. What are some of the ways millennial moms are driving adoption of the smart home, smart city technology, and maybe even some other unrelated forms of technology?
Great question, Avraham. So, we have to look down to moms as consumers, right? And moms use technology in a very specific way that is very pragmatic. So first off, thinking about today's moms and their needs and their world, they are very stressed. Despite all the innovations out there, we're seeing that something is not really working just yet, right? They're still very stressed. Many have faced many pressures, even more so than perhaps some of their, previous generations. They're more educated than ever, and they're very ambitious. So they need real solutions, ones that essentially make their lives a little bit more effortless and a little bit more streamlined. So thinking about some of the adoption of technology, and when it comes to smart home, it has to be something that offers a sense of security and safety. Like I mentioned, that pragmatism that mom desire, right? There are a lot of, conversations today around that when it comes to the hyper-connected world, but also added benefits. So thinking about, does it make me and my home more efficient? Does it help me save money on, say, utility costs? And that's going to be super applicable when it comes to smart home. It is also very different to what dads want in technology. Maybe this wasn't part of your question, but I want to throw it out there for all the dads out there watching this, right? Dads want a little bit more fun in their technology.
Totally.
Right? But moms strictly want A, B, C, D, and help me get stuff done. And that will apply to a lot of things that mom adopt when it comes to technology.
Jola, I love what you said about the frazzled moms, because that reminds me of a story I love to talk about when I speak, and that is about a frazzled mom. She is trying to get her kids to school on time. And she's also the CEO of a high-tech firm and scheduled to deliver a presentation to the board of directors in 1 hour. The school bus is coming in 5 minutes. Her 10-year-old lost his shoes. The phone's ringing. Her 7-year-old lost his socks. And she is frantically rushing through the house, gathering everybody's belongings, packing lunches, and she just yells out to her Alexa, "Make me a coffee." Okay. So let's think about that. The net story is that she ends up being the driving force behind not only IoT technology, but AI, and also a stream of recurring revenue in smart retail called conversational commerce. Because think about it, that smart coffee maker knows that she's using coffee and they could sell her coffee. The coffee maker can reorder that coffee for her automatically and mute the phone for her.
I wish I had something like this because this keeps ringing, so I do apologize.
We need an AI for the phone.
Yeah.
So Jola, what have you seen with regards to high-stress moms influencing trends in technology?
You know, when it comes to high-stress moms and some of the things we talked about when it comes to marketing to moms is some of the mom currencies today. You know, what does that mom really need? How will they adopt this technology? And thinking about that idea of effortlessness or, you know, paring down their busy lives to make sure that, this phone doesn't ring again during this. Right? I wish that was available. So thinking about that effortlessness, time, we live in this digital economy. It's more of an attention economy. You know, brands need to make sure that they respect mom's time, whether it be from the products and services that they deliver, but also how to speak to them through marketing to make sure that they're respectful of their time. Integrity is another one. So thinking about issues with data and privacy, we know that data and privacy are kind of some of the new currencies, but I'm calling this integrity because there's so much more when it comes to mom's needs, when it comes to things such as, you know, integrity of ingredients and what the brand really stands for. And, does it really act upon, you know, what it's supposed to deliver? Now, thinking about that last one, there are also values, which we're going to talk about a little bit. And those are kind of those, what's truly at mom's heart, you know, how mom may find some of the technology out there relatable and useful to her, right? So when it comes to, you know, dovetailing on that integrity, there is a constant push and pull between providing kind of customized solutions or, you know, having even hyper personalized or intuitive solutions out there, and that idea of privacy. It's a double-edged sword, right? And we have been seeing a lot of data breaches out there, and every data breach is a stab at brands' credibility. Those have definitely become way too commonplace. Brand promise needs to be, needs to be tied to action, or, you essentially lose credibility with moms and even with, all other consumers. And essentially, thinking about kind of those values, what is truly at mom's heart, how are they making decisions, adopting a lot of the technologies that help make her life less harried. Again, like I mentioned earlier, is it relatable? Are the kind of what the solution stands for? Does it appeal to mom's world? Does it provide tangible solutions? But also thinking about essentially, we have seen a lot of brands who were going with the same strategy, not fixing what's not broken and not paying attention to their future consumers. It is really important to keep an eye on the consumer that's your future consumer that's just about to age into your demographic. So there are many examples of brands that are fixated on seemingly what's working for them, but, not keeping up with, with the changing attitudes, values, and needs, make them miss out on the new consumers that are coming.
So Jola, what I love about what you're saying is that essentially it's marketing 101. Where you need to understand your target market and what their needs are and view it from their perspective and how it benefits them. I'm fond of saying time is the new currency, and that's what's driving the mass adoption of voice technology in IoT, because these moms are too busy. They don't have time to wipe their nose, let alone eat breakfast, right? All she wants is a cup of coffee, and you've got Alexa, just yell out, Alexa, make me a cup of coffee. And the personalization, Alexa knows what kind of coffee to make. And that's that fine line there, right? Because now Amazon can't go sharing her preferences with the world because she hasn't given them permission. So that ties in very well to what you said about that double-edged sword. So I just learned something new right here.
Absolutely, absolutely. You put it very well out there. There cannot be innovation for the sake of innovation. It has to really make sense for the consumer, and moms are those consumers, right? And when you think about the frazzled moms, we have seen a lot of examples of innovation. First of all, moms have very high ambitions for themselves, and there is this high expectation for themselves with making the perfect birthday cake or throwing the amazing party. And then there's reality. Things don't come out the right way, and you can see a lot of Pinterest fails out there, which is super funny. I actually urge you to Google Pinterest fails when it comes to moms, and you'll have a real laugh at it. But is there technology which can help her make her life more streamlined, more effortless, more comfortable for her, and help her be the super mom she aspires to be, right? Be this, CEO of a company, but also manage the household and kind of doing it all with the help of technology. I mean, that's a fascinating time that we live in.
Absolutely. And to take that one step further, dig a little deeper in that, if marketers want dad's money, then marketers need to make sure the moms are relaxed so that they let the dads go out and have their fun.
Absolutely. And the other thing is also to not alienate that. I try to look at it from another perspective. Because moms sometimes are a little bit ostracized in some of the marketing out there. So we have to be careful, because a lot of dads have been super helpful when it comes to moms. There are a lot more division of labor in the household today than ever before. But can brands empower dads, through technology or solutions or information to help them help mom, right?
Exactly. So talking about dads, one of dad's favorite toys are robots.
Yes. Toys.
So let's talk about toys. AI and robotics are at the forefront in what is commonly known as the fourth industrial revolution. Now, what do you think are the drivers behind this massive growth in these areas?
That's an excellent question. And I want to take a little step back to kind of, give a little bit of an overview, a POV of the fourth industrial revolution. So we are, with every progress that's happening out there, the fourth industrial revolution, or what I like to call it, the digital evolution, is building on past advancement, right? And progress of the third revolution. So the first one was that of water and steam to mechanize production. The second one used electric power to create mass production. The third one used electronics and information technology to automate production. So if you think about it, automation is something that has already been happening since, about the middle of last century. And I believe that what's really behind the massive growth of, AI and robotics is the speed at which this change happens. So some of the existing technology has helped us humans, right, be more efficient and make further advancement in technology faster than ever. And essentially the rate of speed will never be slower. We can never go back and be slower, right, in some of these innovations. There is this unstoppable chain effect of massive changes from transformation of entire systems to production, to how we work, to how we manage, to how we shop. And soon, there will be changes in legislation to keep up with all of this change. What an exciting time to be alive, isn't it? And this is also strictly my opinion, but let's face it, AI existed since the 50s, and the technology.
If you think about it, right?
Right.
In a different form.
It's been out there. It's been in a different form, but the technology that it can coexist with, that whole ecosystem is ripe for it now, right? And that's why we see this big explosion. Another one is consumer lifestyles are also ready for it now. And there is such a thing as too early to market, but I think that the rise of AI and robotics today,
perfectly timed.
Right? It's perfectly timed. The time is now. We're ready for this. Well, we think we're ready for this.
And by the way, the perception is the reality. If we think we're ready for it, we are. And you see the advancements in robotics and technology. So I love the way you say that. So talking about moms and dads, let's shift the conversation to children and let's talk about Gen Z. Gosh, wow, makes me feel old.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, right?
Right.
So the first thought that comes to mind about Gen Z is a fully integrated and connected technology. What can we expect over here?
Yeah, so first, taking a step back and looking at Gen Z, this is your future generation. This is your gate to your crystal ball a little bit, thinking about, what you can expect from the future when this consumer, ages into your demographic. With technology, there's no aging into your demographic. They're using it from age 0, right? Like that's already happening. But when it comes to Gen Z, they live in this post-digital world, I would say. They are already born, and like I mentioned earlier, using it from age 0.
My 9-year-old grew up with drones and oh my gosh,
There you go.
It was science fiction to me.
Yeah, essentially, yes. One of the things that truly differentiates this generation from millennials when they were the same age is that they're very fluid with technology, and this kind of the environment they're growing up with. For millennials, when that shift happens and they obviously grew up with smartphones, the Blackberries or whatnot, we saw that was more of an expression of who they are and showing technology off to the world, whereas with these guys it's seamless.
It's just there.
Right, it's there, and they are very fluid in operating between the digital and the non-digital world and kind of appropriating technology in new ways and even changing the kind of regular products that exist there and adopting them to their needs. So I think there's going to be a lot more fluidity, and we are seeing that technology is just a given to them, and it's just a way of life.
That's such an interesting perspective because in my family, I have basically 2 generations of children. I have a daughter who's in her 20s and I have a son who's 9 years old. And I'm just listening to what you're saying and I can actually see that in them. And I love the way you put it, that they're the crystal ball. Like this is the next generation. These are going to be your future consumers. So if you watch what interests them, then you will know how to build your product for the future.
Definitely study them, and it's important to see how their lifestyles are evolving and what are some of the gaps in their needs, because that will also help with some of the innovating for them and innovating to them. Prepare yourself for when they're ready.
Great. So Jola, besides my fascination with this topic, we've had many questions come in from the audience. My first question is from John Barbosa. He's a brand ambassador at BB Inc. in Puerto Rico. And John is actually with us on video.
Hi, Jola. This is John Barbosa from San Juan, Puerto Rico. I'm a huge fan of Ask the CEO. I want to ask you a question. I'm a very, very firm believer in AI democratization. And I mean my own AI, looking for my own best interest. Serving as an intermediary with the big data gatherers like Google, like Microsoft, kind of my own Alexa. Do you think this is viable? And what will be the relation between that kind of AI versus these big companies that are gathering all our data right now for their own benefits? Thank you, and I hope to see you in As the CEO. Take care.
Hi, Jan. Thank you so much for the question. This is wonderful. And congratulations on building your own AI. This is very commendable. So I want to dovetail actually bring back an interview with Bill Mew, which happened on Ask the CEO on the topic of digital ethics. And if you haven't seen that episode, I strongly suggest that you guys go and watch it because it's excellent. So Bill mentioned a very small cloud provider beating the big players and taking market share by differentiating themselves with data privacy. And data ethics and privacy are in high demand among consumers today. And yes, you could win with essentially, having a central ethics. And if you do the right thing, you can absolutely beat the big guys. Brands today can quickly steal market share from big market players. I mean, this is something that we have seen in the marketplace today. Thinking about a trusted brand doesn't have to be one that has been established for a really long time or has been in the market forever. But there are some examples of newcomers who do the right thing at the right time and have the chance to win big. Another thing to keep an eye on, or even learning from some of the things we have seen in the marketplace from another perspective, is that throughout the economic downturn, there isn't an organization that is too big to fail. So, yes, AI can change some of that relationship, especially if you do it right, like what you're doing with building your own ecosystem. So, yeah, absolutely. Great question.
Gary Vaynerchuk talks about that as well, how the internet is the great equalizer. We're no longer living in the days where the big players determine who wins and who doesn't.
Absolutely. The whole ecosystem has changed so much. Anybody can win, right? There's just so much more opportunity. Even thinking about, how, looking back, you needed to have so much capital or raise so much capital to start a company.
You could do it from your basement today.
Right. You can absolutely do it from your basement, from your little home office, right? And make it be something amazing and grow really quickly. Also, the life of a company today is changing. So companies used to exist for many, many years. Now there's a lot of newcomers, but they kind of don't last as long. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Unless you develop an amazing life-changing technology, which affects everything.
And the point that you made, right, was that anybody can do it. If you develop that life-changing technology, doesn't matter if you're, single and 38 years old living in your mother's basement, you could still make it big.
Absolutely. Or you could be in your 50s and 60s, still living in your basement. Do it. I believe that one person has the power to change the world.
Exactly. We could do a whole episode just on that.
Absolutely.
So our next question is from Juan de la Cruz. He's an IoT platform senior specialist at Telefonica Business Solutions in Madrid. And Juan says, "Hi, Jola. How do you analyze the market demands of an innovation or product which doesn't yet exist? And what methodologies do you recommend?"
Great question. And hi, Juan. Thank you so much for asking it. This nails exactly what I love to do at my work at GfK. And there are a few ingredients to this recipe. I want to start with, when it comes to demand, I love this quote. Henry Ford once said, "If I had asked what people wanted, they would have said faster horses," right? And I work in market research. But it is not always possible for consumers to straight up express what it is exactly that they want, right? And there are great innovations out there that are game changers that perhaps consumers have not been able to articulate. I mean, back in 2006 or 7, if we asked them, would they be able to articulate that they actually want a smartphone? Probably not, right? But what is really important is to still understand the consumer and how their lifestyles are changing. What are some of the needs and opportunity gaps in those needs? Also thinking about keeping an eye on some of the changing trends with those kind of lifestyles, attitudes, behaviors. How is that evolving? What it is that we need to provide that is ready to market for them, right? And most importantly, like I mentioned, truly nail down those gaps in needs. But then in terms of innovation, you also have to look outside of your bubble. So look at some of the big trends or trend drivers, or I like to call them transformative forces. And one of them actually is technology. It is a game changer for everything, right? Another one could be economy, or maybe the environment, or even how politics is evolving. What about aging population, right? So thinking about all of these having an effect on, some of these trends that are happening in your space. And one thing to remember is that these trends don't exist in a vacuum. So as next step, You have to give yourself the permission to go outside of your bubble, take a 10,000 foot view, because this is when you will see the horizon, right? Because sometimes we're just so too close to your category or that space that you're working in that you can't see past, what it is, what is the next thing, what is the next demand, what is the next innovation that we should focus on. But essentially, when you look at that, not only these big transformative forces, these lifestyle needs, but then also looking at, what are some of the innovation, and I dare you to look at innovation that is in a space that is completely unrelated to you, right? So this is how, when you marry all of these three ingredients and cross-pollinate them, crisscross them. So, if there is a need for environmental products, but then something with technology, how can you, create something that really speaks to that, right? That's how innovation is born. That's how, providing innovation that can even create demand for consumers. If you offer something that is truly irresistible, you're going to create the demand. I mean, was there a demand for smartphones before? Maybe, maybe not, right? But you created the demand by offering this amazing innovation.
I love what you're saying because I find it very easy to relate to that. And a great example on the smartphone, when the iPhone first came out, I couldn't understand what the big deal was. I mean, it was an iPod and a phone, and I hated the fact that it didn't have a keyboard. I was a fan of the BlackBerry, and now you can't get, any phone out there, nobody's got the keyboard. Now they took away the headset jack, but that's another topic entirely, which brings us to our next question from Mirko Ross. He's the CEO of Ashwin.io in Stuttgart, Germany. And Mirko asks, will consumers accept interaction with an AI-based user interface in the same way as a human-to-human interaction?
Great question. And hi, Mirko. Thank you for this. So when it comes to acceptance of AI, this is a bit of a complex question, right? First we have to, to avoid annoyance with the AI interface and then to make sure that we accept it, we have to ask ourselves a few questions. So first of all, what is the need for AI? What is the specific use case? It goes down to the value proposition. What's in it for me? How badly do I need it? Does it make my life easier? Or, does it make the process, more effortless than me doing this myself? Because if not, it just can be downright annoying, and no, you will not accept that interaction. Or, thinking about the interface. Does it feel gimmicky? What is the accuracy of speech recognition, or is there latency in responses? When you're thinking especially about some of these kind of speakers out there, right? And this brings back to the point with experience, if you feel frustrated at any point, is there an out for you to speak to a human, or, or do you feel trapped in just having...
Press 0.
Right? Like, this is it. And, I wanted to bring a real life example. We did speak to an automated system as a post-op for one of my family members. It was very clear, very polite, and we had a very informative discussion, right? We thought that perhaps, speaking to a human that maybe had is at the end of a 12-hour shift or is in a bad mood or feeling rushed. This was actually a kind of I thought that was, it didn't feel like speaking to a robocall. And I think that was interesting. Now, from another standpoint, another great example of AI, which I absolutely love, and I'm excited about, is Google's new AI, Google Duplex, right? It's personally my favorite.
I saw that demo. It's amazing.
Isn't it amazing? So those who are not familiar or haven't seen that demo, it is an AI that leverages, some of the technologies proprietary to Google, but also advances in natural language processing, and all of it which helps software more realistically replicate human speech pattern. It mimics human voice in such a great way that the person on the receiving end does not even realize they're speaking to an AI. There has been
it even has the ums and the ahs in there, which is
yes,
amazing.
it's quite amazing. I think it's able to recognize humor too, so it's kind of fascinating. Now, there has been a lot of controversy and a public outcry around, this being too realistic and the person on the receiving end not knowing they're talking to an AI. So Google added that self-identifying feature to let the person know that they're speaking to an AI and not a human. So this acceptance of AI, in this acceptance of AI, we have to take a look at the bigger picture, for users to have a good experience with the service. Transparency is going to be a key part of that, as we have seen with just this Google AI. Thinking about something we don't talk about very often, but legislature, sooner or later will have to follow or keep up with some of this technology that's happening out there, or maybe the chances it will never keep up because it's changing so fast. But when it comes to AI and this specific, case, perhaps there will be something that regulates it. Right now, we're having a real hard time regulating new technologies due to the fast pace of change, and we're kind of still figuring this out. So we don't know, what the potential pitfalls might be. So we're kind of learning as we grow. Now, the funny thing is, when it comes to AI, consumers use AI in everyday life without realizing it. I mean, who doesn't love Netflix recommendation or Amazon suggesting your next purchase, taking the guessing out of equation. So AI will play a very important role. It is likely, another thing to remember, bringing it back to marketing and branding, AI is likely to be an extension of your brand. Right? Perhaps thinking about some of the automated customer service. So thinking about the tone, its personality should match your brand. And, this will also have an impact on how acceptable or not that AI interaction is.
Wow, that was very powerful. So the AI should match your brand. It shouldn't just be a robot that's looking to scale, but it needs to speak in the same voice, so to speak, as you do.
Absolutely. And I think this is something that we will see more and more of coming, to the fore as brands increasingly leverage AI for their customer service. I mean, it goes back to even the tone of voice, the personality of the brand, how, some of the little words that you're using in your marketing and branding, those values that are sprinkled here and there. It's all going to be, the devil is in the details, and technology will need to abide still by a lot of these rules.
Our next question is from Nick Tang. He's a competitive intelligence consultant. And Nick asks, will consumers be annoyed that AI is chatting with them for the easy items? And have consumers accepted AI in their lives?
Great question. Hi, Nick. Thank you for asking it. So this dovetails on the question from Mirko on acceptance of AI, right? It will come back down to the consumer needs and how helpful, easy, and fun the interface is. Again, does it feel gimmicky or not? But it may also depend, when it comes to AI, maybe proactively speaking to you, it might also be, a set of controls. Can you set controls to speak to you at specific moments, or maybe just kind of listen to you to execute commands versus just speaking to you whenever it needs to?
Our next question is from a company called Neurozo Innovation in New Taipei City, Taiwan. And they ask, with the development of AI, IoT, blockchain, AR, and VR, is it possible that physical stores will become extinct in the future, meaning people only shopping online? And also, in your opinion, what kinds of stores must be run by real people instead of AI? I love that question.
Yeah, this is a really great question. So Essentially, I do not believe that physical stores will go completely extinct. Indeed, retail is one of the most disrupted industries out there, experiencing a lot of growing pains. And maybe it's just progressing. Maybe it's just growing. It's just being changed and disrupted. But we see Amazon here in the United States as the leader in online shopping. But there is still a place for physical stores. A recent acquisition of Whole Foods by Amazon is living proof that Amazon still believes in physical stores too, right? I mean, otherwise, why would they do it? But what we're seeing is that, or what I'm observing is that the retail is just changing. The format and what we as consumers expect to get from a shopping experience is different today than, say, 10 or 20 years ago. And I want to emphasize the word experience. There are a bunch of stores popping out there that are not necessarily providing just products, but offering an experience. And, it becomes more than just a store. After all, we are competing with shopping from a comfy couch, right? Virtually no barriers to shopping other than maybe having to get up and look for that credit card. So I'm doing a little silent eye roll, but yes, it can be.
That's going to be, implanted in your skin pretty soon.
Yes, gosh, I'll shop in my sleep. Mind you, you already do this kind of when the kids are asleep with one eye on your phone. I mean, who has done it on, right before Black Friday run out, right? Who goes to the store? But we're seeing that, there has to be something that attracts consumers to the store, and technology has played a really great role here in offering a lot more immersive experiences. Trying before buying has a completely different connotation today. Now with AR and VR, you can do this virtually. And
try on clothes virtually, yeah.
Right? Exactly. We have also seen this with home improvement stores adopting different technologies. And yes, stores are evolving from this kind of large inventory to smaller showrooms. And there are some examples of successful brands out there. For example, Bonobos and Warby Parker are some of my favorite, where, Bonobos is, are you familiar with that brand by any chance? Okay, so now you are going to this is, clothing for men. You can get to the store, get your perfect measurement, and continue shopping empty-handed because the stuff is getting delivered to you, through mail.
I got to check them out now.
Right? But it's perfect and exactly what you need. Warby Parker, you can also go try on glasses, or they can send you a few pairs to try on. You can send them back. You can also think about the cost savings that are being offered of not having this large inventory or paying for retail space. So that's definitely
there's less risk now as well for the right? Retailer.
Absolutely. So what we might be seeing is, a cross-pollination of experiential stores, maybe where you can eat or, shop and wine at the same time, or wine shop till you drop. The last one might be a little bit of a wishful thinking. But the other thing we have to keep in mind is the strong offline and online integration. And that's pretty much how retail is changing. So to sum it up, no, I do not think they're going to go completely extinct. There's still need for stores. The question I saw was that what kinds of stores must be run by people versus AI, right? Okay, so, there will be ones perhaps that require more of a human connection and empathy or trust or expertise. So one good example that comes to mind is maybe buying bridal dresses. I mean, would you want it to be powered without anything? I think it's more of an emotional connection. You need that recommendation. It's an experience. So, it is an experience, right, in itself. So, I think that's not going anywhere in a little while. I might be wrong. We'll see. Maybe there will be some amazing innovation. But another one is Best Buy. Essentially, they have invested in blue shirts. And you might go to the store not always feeling, there's majority of people are non-techies, right? And they come in, they don't have enough time. they sometimes can describe what they want, but don't know the exact name for it. I mean, I'm sure it happens all the time. And that is where you may or may not be able to even type in what it is that what it is that you need, right? So having that human to human interaction is going to be key. So again, I might be expressing a desire for faster horses here, but this is one of those where we saw, Best Buy has been doing really well on investing in kind of having stuff. Now, on the other hand, other stores like grocery stores, these are kind of low involvement purchases. Food is one of them. You just go on autopilot, you know what you like, you have a list, boom, 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 you're done, right? You really don't need anybody to be in the way to advise you on X, Y, and Z. And then if you have a question, there's so much information on your phone. I do this all the time. Check ingredients, is it cross-contaminated? My kid has allergies, things like that. So you can Google everything and know exactly, have the answers to everything. So Amazon, again, bringing me back to that, has the Amazon Go store, or has been experimenting with the Amazon Go store, which lets you go shop, put everything in your bag, and essentially, walk out with your groceries pretty much without having much of a human interaction or any at all. Now, don't forget, and don't do that in a traditional, retail environment, because you might get arrested. But this is where we might see the evolution of, perhaps not needing as much consumer interaction.
Our next question is from Neville Gaunt. He's the CEO of MindFit in the UK, and Neville joins us on video.
Hello, Jola. It's Neville Gaunt from the UK, and I'm the CEO of MindFit, which is all about behaviour change and improving your performance. And in the background, I've got probably one of the largest, or if not one of the largest shopping mall in the UK called Bluewater. And it's that change of consumer behaviour that I'm really interested in asking you a question over. Over the last few years, we've seen consumer behaviour change so rapidly that we've lost several high street stores. And that's not just in the UK, but that's also in the States. And what I'd like to know is, in the next 5 years, there's a survey out whereby over 30% of shopping malls will close, retail will close in the US. What implications has that got? And secondly, international tax laws are all based upon physical presence. But now we're into the internet. And as people move to the internet, that physical presence will just move away. So that's not just got an implication of local jobs, but it's also got an implication to social programs that are driven by these tax receipts. So I'm really looking forward to your answer. Cheers. Bye.
Great question. This dovetails a little bit about the question from Mirko about retail earlier, and essentially retail stores not disappearing completely, but changing its format from these high street or shopping malls to smaller, more interactive showrooms where shopping is a lot more engaging and entertaining.
Our next question is from Jo Peterson. She's a vice president of cloud services with Clarify 360 in Orange County, California. And Jo asks, how will AI build on the advantages of e-commerce to make it a-commerce?
Great question. Hi, Joe. Thank you for it. So starting with, e-commerce, first of all, it has truly changed our lives. It cut some of the shopping lines, and the natural progression from that is e-commerce, which is making and is going to make our shopping experiences even better and more immersive. It does build on the advantages of e-commerce to create a-commerce. So imagine, a-commerce essentially creating a wardrobe for you, which may be based on a combination of the new fashion trends and what typically looks good on you, right? There's this cool app called Finery that just does that. It can, it's one platform, one app, everything in one place. It can organize your outfits by occasion. It also, proposes new wardrobe pieces for you, again, maybe for a particular occasion. And if something is not available on that, it actually searches. It searches the web to bring you, resources and retailers where you can buy the right outfit for you. Now, personally, the more I look into it, it's a fantastic solution. That's a great example of e-commerce, right? Or this AI making that change from e-commerce to a-commerce. The only thing is obviously something that we mentioned earlier, with everything that offers hyper-personalized solutions, you have to give up a little bit of your privacy. So how does it know what you like, right? One of the examples is here that potentially you might have to give up your email address. Not give it up, but hand them over some of the history so they can look through some of the purchases you made, or maybe share your login to say a Macy's, so again they can pull it all together and call the information and make recommendation based on that. That could be, potentially a roadblock to some of the adoption out there. But I think this is a great example of e-commerce. We will see a lot more of that in the future.
And I think as trust for this technology grows and becomes more commonplace, I think people will be okay with giving up certain pieces of information, especially like you discussed, data ethics and data privacy becoming mainstream, and legislation out there protecting us.
We're doing this all the time, leaving pieces of information here, there, and everywhere. I mean, everywhere you go, you leave a digital footprint, and we do that. It's something that already happens.
Our next question is from Audrey DeSisto. She's the founder and CEO of Digital Media Stream in Massachusetts. And Audrey says, "Hi, Jola. The majority of consumers fear AI will replace their jobs. Do you feel this is due to speed and precision or cost? And what advice do you have for the workplace?"
Hi, Audrey. Great. Thank you for this great question. Fantastic question. There was a study earlier this year by a company called LifePerson. I saw it, in the media out there, that mentioned that it's a fun point. Believe that everybody else's job is going to be replaced, but not theirs. I mean, how can that be, right? It's not going to happen.
That could happen to me.
Right? You just never know. So I don't have the hard numbers, what majority of consumers do think, their job will be replaced. But essentially it appears that while some jobs will be wiped out, and there are some numbers, maybe around 30% in the next decade or so, but there will also be more that are created as a result of this. And to answer this question, whether do I feel this is due to speed, precision, or cost, I think it's a factor of all of these things, because if you think about it, AI will boost productivity and will definitely be a lot more precise. And essentially will help with some of the cost savings. Hopefully that will also, help the economy. We also have to take into consideration, we just talked about it earlier, right? Consideration of future legislation, which could potentially delay this transition to make sure that our kind of work system doesn't collapse if it happens too quickly. That's an interesting area to watch. But then on the other hand, there will be new jobs that humans will likely work with machines, which is likely to make us even more productive, perhaps, having shorter work hours and thus better work-life balance.
Jola, this is a really great point, and it actually leads us into our next question, which is from Ken Herron, who's the Chief Marketing Officer for UIB in Orlando, Florida. And Ken joins us here on video.
Hi, Jola. I'm Ken Herron. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for UIB. I work in Orlando, Florida, even though we're headquartered over in Singapore. Thrilled that you're speaking with Avraham, and I cannot wait to watch your interview. Question for you. I happen to work for an AI company, and it's just going to be a short matter of time before some of our peers and possibly even some of our bosses are artificial intelligence. So my question for you is this: how can we prepare ourselves and our people to successfully work alongside, and maybe sooner than we think, for our new robot co-workers and managers? Thanks. Look forward to your answer.
This is a great question. I think it kind of dovetails what Audrey asked, which I have yet to answer, about what advice do we have or do I have for the workplace. So it will be more important for the workplace to keep an eye on the culture, be supportive and empathetic, but more importantly, offer training. And consistent training, or even called micro learning, to help manage change and to perhaps get away from the fear, but more into, move away from the fear into embracing technologies and to learn to work alongside with them. Perhaps it's interesting. Will bosses even exist? Will it be just a unified system? I don't know. It's an interesting question, but I doubt. This is just to, kind of offer my little thing here. I doubt that humans will accept the concept of AI being a boss, right? Wouldn't we kind of lose as humanity? So hopefully that doesn't happen. We don't know. But I think it will be more about AI being your assistant or a peer, or making you as a human, as a worker, way more efficient, kind of maybe even a superhuman. But with the evolution of technology, the next career goals perhaps will not be to make you better at this current role, but maybe prepare you for your next transition. So environments that foster reskilling, constant learning, are going to be key to, working alongside AI workers, in my opinion.
I really love what you say, because I truly believe that when it comes to bosses, people, the saying that people don't leave companies, they leave their bosses. And even if you're in a job that isn't so great, but if you have a good boss that's a mentor, that's emotionally supportive, you're more likely to stay. So I think in that respect, humans are extremely valuable. And I agree with you. I think where AI can help is in being an assistant, is in being your resource, basically.
Yeah, and if you think about, that career change, sorry about that. If you think about that career change, not necessarily career change, but preparing you to continue being relevant in the workspace, great book by Yuval Harari, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. He explores some of the potential, scenarios for the future. One of them is the potential rise of the useless class. People who may not necessarily be able to pivot and evolve. Is there something organizations can do to prepare themselves and potentially prevent from something like this happening in the future?
That's a great book suggestion. I'm also going to post that in the show notes so that people can pull that up.
Wonderful.
Our next question is from Dr. Johannes Drooghaag. He's the CEO of Spearhead Management in Germany, and Johannes joins us on video.
I am Johannes Drooghaag, founder of Spearhead Management and executive consultant for cybersecurity and digital transformation. My question is, will consumer behavior influence the implementations of blockchain beyond crypto, or will consumer behavior just follow the markets as it develops? Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to your answers.
This is a great question. Hi, Johannes. Thank you for asking. This is more of a speculation, but I believe there might be a little bit of a co-influence. At first, we have to look at the consumer need, and we're seeing that there is this increased desire for transparency, which is a huge promise that blockchain might deliver on, right? Blockchain, otherwise known as the public ledger, obviously, public ledger of records of transaction, open to inspection by every participant, but not really subject to any form of control. But the way I see it is, in the beginning, the consumer might use technology powered by blockchain. Will they even know they're using something that's powered by blockchain?
They probably don't even care.
Exactly. And that's kind of the same analogy if you look at AI today, right? Like we're surrounded by AI without even knowing we're using it. And perhaps the same thing will happen with using products and services powered by blockchain, right? But essentially, as the adoption of products and services powered by blockchain goes more mainstream, we might see some pushback or perhaps some behaviors that will then, make or have impact on the blockchain technology or how it's used. So, just like with consumers who demand transparent labels today and clean ingredients in food or beauty products, they're pushing this to be kind of this new demand. There could be a lot more kind of growing pains and further down the road, consumers exerting influence on not only, I don't know if the technology itself, but how it's used.
Yeah, and as consumers become more educated, they want transparency.
Absolutely, and blockchain definitely promises and bring transparency to the next level.
Our next question is from Tony Flath. He's the founder of tech and media consultancy T-Man Speaks in Edmonton, Alberta. And Tony asks, what are some of the biggest breakthroughs that we'll see in AI in healthcare over the next year?
So this might be wishful thinking, and I'm not sure if it's necessarily a breakthrough or that it's going to happen, or go mainstream just in the next year. But when it comes to AI in healthcare, the one I see that's already starting to happen is simplifying healthcare altogether, to start relieving doctors from some of the burden of paperwork and perhaps offering a more intelligent platform that will help, run things a lot more smoothly for their patients. And obviously, us, patients or consumers, also want to have a good experience. So thinking about, providing good service design, but also connecting some of the workflows, helping analyze some of the structured and unstructured data, and helping or preventing some of the human errors, I think is going to be big. Also thinking about, when it comes to errors, and that's something that I'm looking perhaps to see more of, is in the adoption of it going a little bit more mainstream, is to perhaps, helping make doctors more efficient even as they're prescribing medication. Could they be doing the back checking on it, whether this medication is perhaps cross-reactive for the 5 other medications that the patient is taking, or can it aggravate or have a negative effect on an underlying condition, the other condition that the patient might be treated, on with another doctor that's outside of this doctor's expertise? I mean, there's a lot of there. There's a lot of there, or a lot of burden on the doctor today to remember everything. The other thing is, we have seen some of that, some of the videos, on Twitter, and some of the examples of kind of unifying the mind and machine through brain and computer interfaces. So using computers to communicate is essentially not a new thing, but thinking about, getting rid of perhaps keyboards, monitors, mice, that would be amazing. Not sure if that's going to happen.
A bit scary, but yeah.
It's kind of scary, but I don't think it's going to happen in the next year. So sorry if I'm not answering your question, Tony. Now, another area that is a huge area of promise, I would say, is, we're seeing that maybe AI can help medical care being available in, maybe underserved communities or some of the remote regions. Obviously, there is a shortage of healthcare providers in some of these areas, and perhaps AI can help solve for some of that. So as an example, perhaps there could be AI imaging tools that can take, chest x-rays, and there could be an app that's deployed, and maybe some of the images could be sent to other doctors that are trained, but they don't have to be on location to make diagnosis and perhaps recommend treatment.
Our next question is from Anubhav Yadav from Delhi, India, and he joins us here on video.
Hi everyone, hi Zola, and my name is Anubhav Yadav. I live in Delhi, India, and I work for income tax department. I like this show as a CEO because your viewers get to learn the technology directly from the specialist. My question is, will we ever be forced by machines to live in a matrix world once someone's AI disrupts whole IoT and technology dependent society?
Oh gosh, I surely hope not. And if so, probably not in our lifetimes.
Me too.
Great question, though.
Our next question is from Jaymie Cutaia. She's the founder of tech and telecom PR firm JSA and Associates in Los Angeles, California. And Jaymie asks, how do you see blockchain transforming the way we think of cybersecurity? Are there any better tools, technologies, or systems available to help companies and institutions fight cyber attacks other than blockchain currently?
So just to put it out there, I'm not an expert in blockchain and cybersecurity, but as a marketer and a person who studies consumer trends, I strongly believe what Bill Mew said earlier, that essentially the best way to fight cyber attacks, to make cybersecurity and data protection central to your corporate strategy. And it goes beyond just having systems in place, but also making it foolproof and perhaps people-proof, right? We all, to be human is to err, so that's definitely one of the things we have to remember.
Our next question is from Jolene Stillinger. She's the founder of Wise Chase TV in Calgary, Alberta. And Jolene asks, how do you feel about our mall touch directories facial recognizing us and collecting data? Certainly, our internet shopping can all be tracked via IP address. But what personal rights do we get to keep when it comes to collecting our faces without permission? How will they use this information to target ads at us?
Great question. Hi, Jolene. Thank you for asking it. Well, between you and I, some of this technology is kind of happening now, right? Let's think about, bring it back down to moms, right? If you go shopping, if you search for things, you leave this digital footprint. Or even thinking about geolocation. If you did a search for something, whether it be, wishful thinking, maybe a diamond bracelet. I don't really need it. But anyway, and then you're walking past a diamond store, there could be a billboard that places an ad that is targeted right to you. This technology kind of already exists, and we can expect more of that. I actually have a personal experience, and this is, again, this is more of a geolocation. So I was killing time at Grand Central. I walked into this watch store and thought, okay, we're going to Europe. Maybe I can buy a few watches from my friends, their kids rather. But then I decided, no, maybe not. It's okay, and then I went onto my train, I pull up Facebook, and what it is, there's an ad for the same exact watches. And they offer, adult watches, kids watches, all that stuff. They had the exact same ad that was targeted to the watches I would see. They had the green one that I looked at, which I found really interesting. So this is already happening, but definitely, we're going to see more of that. I don't know if there's escaping at all.
You just made me think about it. Let's take that same example about doing the search on the diamond bracelet one step further, that as you approach that diamond bracelet store, that jewelry store, right? You not only you get an ad for that diamond bracelet, but you get a coupon, a personalized coupon just for you. Maybe then you may not really feel too bad about sharing your personal information because you're personally benefiting from that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, there has to be some sort of benefit associated with it. Right? There has to be something in it for me as a consumer. Why am I seeing this? Or otherwise there could be some pushback, or it could be, viewed as a little bit more annoying or an invasion of privacy. So it goes back to that kind of value equation and what it is that we're putting in front of the consumer or the mom, right? Not wasting their time.
Our next question is from Code Brew Labs. And they say, the use of technology in construction firms can be considered minimal until one learns about the endless benefits of AR and VR tools in the same.
Absolutely. And it's not about the app itself, but the amazing applications that it can offer, right? The benefits of technology. And really, this is precisely what I study on a daily basis. And I examine the drivers behind the technology and even some of the potential uses of technology that hasn't been applied in your area yet. So I totally agree with what you're saying. And we're going to see more of that in this category and others as well.
Jola, for people that want to make use of your crystal ball, how do people connect with you?
So the best way is to reach me on Twitter at Jola Burnett or LinkedIn. Connect with me if you have any questions or want to get a little bit of a sense of what we can do in terms of the crystal ball.
Great. Jola, do you have any parting words of wisdom that you'd like to share with the audience?
I do. I wanted to leave you with one thing, and that is, give yourself the permission to take a 10,000-foot view. Go outside of your bubble and see what's on the horizon. I mean, this is how you innovate, and you need to keep an eye on what's out there.
What a great way to wrap up. Jola, thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom. I really enjoyed having you on the show.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.